Hello everyone, welcome to Come Sit at My Table. Today is Sunday, so we're doing a recipe for our Sunday subscriber series. Today's recipe comes from Kathleen Welch in Albany, Oregon. Now Kathleen actually sent us 4 recipes, but at this time of year, one of the recipes really stood out to me. It's for baked caramel corn. I thought this is a perfect recipe and a perfect treat to have for like New Year's Eve or parties around New Year's. So we're going to do baked caramel corn. I have never made caramel corn in my life, so I'm excited to do this. I love caramel corn, so this is going to be fun for me. I hope it turns out really well. All right, let's talk about what we're going to use to make Kath's baked caramel corn. We're going to use 2 sticks of butter, that's 1 cup of butter, 2 cups of light brown sugar. Make sure you're using light brown sugar. You're going to need 1/2 cup of light corn syrup. Then you're going to use 1 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and of course you're going to need popcorn. Now, I can't tell you how much corn to use to get what you need. What we need is about 6 to 7 quarts of popcorn. You're going to have to read your popcorn container, and you're going to have to read, if you have a popper, like an air popper or a popcorn popper, you're going to have to read the directions with it to see how much corn to use. We are using an old-fashioned, my old handy-dandy West Bend Stir Crazy popcorn popper. We got this when our kids were really small and taught them how to use it so they could make their own popcorn. And that's what we're going to use today. So before you start, you're going to want to make sure you have some kind of a big bowl. Now this is a little bit of overkill, but I like this because I don't have to worry about the popcorn flying out of it. But you're going to need a bowl that's big enough to hold 6 to 7 quarts of popcorn. And then you're going to need 1 or maybe 2 baking sheets that you've covered with parchment paper because you don't want this popcorn to stick. So make sure you cover that. I've actually fixed 2 pans so that we can divide it if we need to, so we can spread it out. All right, the first thing we have to do is pop our corn and get about 6 to 7 quarts. So we're going to get started on that. We have our popcorn popped, and I will tell you that I went through the popcorn and picked out all the unpopped kernels. You do not want the hard unpopped kernels in this, or you may have someone break a tooth. So just go through it, make sure all the unpopped kernels go to the bottom, and then move it over to whatever bowl you're going to use. Okay, I'm going to start my fire. Now I have already melted my 2 sticks of butter. So now I'm going to add my sugar, my corn syrup, and salt. So in goes the brown sugar. I'm going to add the corn syrup. I want to make sure that I get all that corn syrup out of there. You need it in this dish for it to turn out right. So get it all in there. Okay. And then our teaspoon of salt. You know you have to have salt for popcorn. Now we're not adding our baking soda or our vanilla. We won't add that until after this has cooked for 5 minutes, boiled for 5 minutes. Now, Kath's directions say to stir this constantly until it comes to a boil. Once it comes to a full rolling boil, then we're going to stop stirring and we're going to let it sit here and boil on its own for 5 minutes. After that 5 minutes, we will add in the baking soda and the vanilla and then pour it on our popcorn. We are at a boil, so I'm going to stop stirring. We're going to set our timer for 5 minutes and let it sit here and boil without stirring until the timer goes off. Our timer has almost gone to 0. I'm going to turn my fire off, and by the way, once it started boiling, I did turn it down to medium-low. I'm going to add my baking soda and stir it in. And I'm going to add the vanilla and stir it in. 1 teaspoon. And then we're going to coat the popcorn. And yes, when you put the vanilla in, it is going to splatter and spit at you a little bit. It's okay, that's what it's supposed to do. All right, let's move all that out of our way. We will get ready to coat this popcorn. Man, that looks good.
I love popcorn of any kind.
Melissa is a popcorn fanatic.
Never made this at home, so I'm excited about it.
Should I tell my secret? I may have already told it before on another video.
I don't know. What's your secret?
I don't like popcorn. But
Well,
I
you don't
love caramel corn.
So you don't like it at the movies, but
I don't. Melissa gets popcorn, I get candy. I just don't care for plain popcorn. Never have. My entire life, I have never liked plain popcorn. It's one of the very few things I will not eat. There aren't many. Okay. Now, Kathleen says we need to stir until everything is well coated. You can see why I wanted this big tub. You need to be able to stir without it falling out of the tub. So, I needed this big tub to make sure it all stayed in. And the only way to do this is just to stir it.
I have a feeling I'm going to have to share this popcorn with you.
You better believe it. You better believe it.
It looks wonderful.
It smells good too. Yum. I am going to try to put about half of it on each baking sheet. I don't know, I'm not sure how Kath does this, but I'm just going to do it with 2 forks and try to pull it apart some to spread it out. I'm not sure if that's the best way to do it or not. Her recipe doesn't necessarily spell out how to get it on your baking sheet, but I think this will work. Now, our oven is preheated to 250 degrees, and this is going to bake at 250 for 1 hour. So, you need to have that oven ready for this to go in once you get it all spread out so it can start baking. It does not mention stirring it during baking, but it does say to make sure you stir it well after it comes out, or you'll have a big lump. So, all right, here we go onto this baking sheet. And I think I've got some already stuck in the pan a little bit. It's okay. Okay, in we go. All right, Kath says to stir it. Ouch. Stir it and not to let it become a clump. Now, I'm just going to tell you, I'm not really sure how to do that, because it looks to me like it's all going to stick together. So we're going to see. I'm just going to stir and try to break up the clumps and keep stirring so it doesn't all stick together.
And you just want it to cool down this way,
We
right?
just want it to cool. She said just keep stirring it and move it so that it doesn't become a big clump. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm only doing one tray because I think it'll be easier to do one tray at a time than to try to do all of it. So I'm just going to do this one and just try to break up the clumps until it's cooled. All right, we learned a couple things with that first pan of corn. We did put it in here and stir, and as long as it's hot, it's easy to break apart. But once it starts to cool, then it starts to stick together again. So what I've kind of determined is you start breaking it apart and then scoop it out onto the parchment paper and start breaking it up. I think that's really the easiest way. So I'm just pulling it apart into pieces. It's hot and it's not stuck at all, so it's easy just to pull it apart if you want to. Or you could leave it in clumps, that would be good too. So that's how I'm doing it. And if you look at that first batch that we took out, it looks really good. And I'll admit I've already had one piece.
Me too.
I couldn't wait. I had to have some. So I'm going to take out another scoop of it. And I'll break it apart. And it's still hot enough that it still just comes apart. That's the easiest way I have found. I realized with that first batch that as it cooled, it was starting to stick back together. So it is a little warm on your hands, but it's not so hot that you can't handle it. You can tell this made a lot of caramel corn. And it's delicious. I told you earlier, I am not a popcorn fan. But I'm a caramel corn fan. And this is so good. Wow, that's good. We cannot keep this at home. Because I would have to eat every bite of it. What did you say to me earlier?
I said you would be eating it.
You said I can already tell I'm going to have to fight you for this caramel corn. Wow, that's good. Kath, we really do appreciate you sending this recipe. It's great. It's really good. And that was pretty simple. You mix those ingredients together, let it boil for 5 minutes, take it off, stir in 2 more ingredients, pour it over your popcorn, and let it bake. I've got a couple of things I want to tell you. If you don't want to pop the popcorn, you can buy bags of popcorn at the grocery store or at a movie theater. So if you don't have a popcorn maker or you don't want to go to the trouble to pop popcorn, just buy some bags of popcorn and start with that. That will work. The other thing I thought of was that I think you could add nuts to this. Melissa, what's that
Cracker
mix?
Jacks.
Cracker Jacks or Fiddle Faddle, I think is one of them. That's caramel corn with nuts in it. I don't know if they have peanuts or cashews, I don't know, but I think you could add nuts to this and it would work really well. So if you want to experiment, try it. But I'm gonna tell you, this is good stuff. It really is. Let me tell you a few things. Same thing I tell you at the end of every video. Right below the video, there's a description box. If you'll click in there where you see the title of this recipe, that box will expand. Melissa always puts the written recipe there. Under that recipe, there will be an Amazon link to purchase our cookbook if you'd like to order a copy. And under that link, there will be an address for us if you want to send us recipes for our Sunday subscriber series, just like Kath did. All you have to do is write out your recipe or print out your recipe and mail it to us. We want it to be something that your family has tried and has enjoyed for years. The other thing I want to ask you to do for us is to click that thumbs up button. It just says you liked our video. And if you haven't before, click the subscribe button, that little notification bell beside of it in the word all. That just joins you to our channel. It's totally free. Also, at the very bottom of the page is a place for you to leave a comment. We would love to hear from you. So go down to the bottom of the page and just type us a quick comment, and we will do our best to read and respond to as many of those as possible. All right. Anything else, Melissa?
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. We hope you'll try this. This would be a great snack to have for New Year's Eve. It's really pretty easy to do, and it's delicious. I can't stay out of it. Okay, thank you for watching our video. We do appreciate it. We want you to remember that you are always welcome to come sit at my table. Happy New Year.